All right, so we're ready to dive into all this Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick stuff. It's pretty interesting. We've got this article here from the news. It's called Blake Lively's co-star Anna Kendrick spills on legal battle, and it's hinting at like a feud or something.
Yeah.
But is there more to it? Who knows?
Yeah, well, what's really interesting to me is how this all ties in with this upcoming premiere of another Simple Favor that's happening at SXSW March 7th in Austin. So coming up pretty quick. And that just so happens to be like right when Lively's got this whole legal battle thing going on with Justin Baldoni.
Oh, yeah.
Her co-star from It Ends With Us.
Oh, wow.
So that makes this premiere kind of interesting, don't you think?
Totally. I mean, talk about bad timing, right? And, the internet is just like losing it over this whole thing. Everyone's on social media just speculating about a rift between Lively and Kendrick.
It's like a textbook example of how fans just get so invested in the lives of these stars,
Yeah.
They see a little bit of information and then they try to create a whole story around it.
Well, for sure.
So in this case, with Lively having this legal issue going on, people are automatically thinking that it's affecting her relationship with Kendrick.
Okay, but wait. What even is this legal battle about? I mean, the article mentions a hostile work environment or something, but what does that even mean, like on a movie set especially?
So legally speaking, a hostile work environment basically means that there's some kind of conduct happening that's either so bad or happening so often that it's creating this intimidating or offensive or just really negative atmosphere.
Okay.
And on a film set, especially with those scenes that involve intimacy, it can get pretty complicated.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess, it makes you wonder if there are enough protections in place to keep actors safe.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a tricky area where you really need to have clear boundaries and good communication. So in this case, Lively is saying that Baldoni created this hostile environment on the set of It Ends With Us, specifically during some of those scenes with intimacy.
Oh, wow. This is heavy. And from what the article says, it sounds like this is even impacting Kendrick, too.
Right.
Like, she's not used to being dragged into drama like this. And all the negative comments on social media are really getting to her.
Which I can understand,
Yeah.
It's got to be tough to be pulled into some controversy that you're not even really involved in.
Right.
All this negativity around Lively is just spilling over onto Kendrick because they're co-stars.
Right. And that's where this whole idea of a feud comes from, I guess.
Exactly.
People are worried that all this negativity towards Lively is going to make fans boycott another Simple Favorite. It makes you think about how much power fans actually have. Can they really determine whether a movie succeeds or not?
Oh, absolutely. They have so much influence, especially nowadays with social media. Everything a celebrity does is under a microscope. And any negative perception can definitely hurt a film's chances at the box office.
You're right. Remember what happened with that other film?
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
It's crazy how public opinion can just make or break a career. But here's where things get interesting.
Okay.
Sources close to both Lively and Kendrick have completely denied these feud rumors. They're saying, quote, there is no feud, end quote.
Okay.
And they're even planning on doing some joint press appearances for the film. So what are we supposed to believe here?
Right.
Are they trying to squash these rumors, or is this all just some big PR stunt?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
I know.
Denying the rumors definitely makes sense because it protects their images and protects the film, especially since the premiere is coming up so soon.
Yeah.
But are they actually trying to clear the air, or are they just trying to control the narrative? That's what we need to think about.
Totally. So what do you think? And what about you listening at home?
Yeah.
Do you think there's something more going on behind the scenes? Are Lively and Kendrick really friends, or is this all just clever PR? What do you make of it all?
It's really interesting how we, as the audience, like to build up these stories in our heads.
Yeah.
We see little pieces of information here and there, like these denials, and we try to fill in the blanks.
Totally.
It's almost like we're all putting together a puzzle.
Right, we're like a bunch of detectives on social media trying to piece together clues from interviews and posts and stuff.
Exactly, and I think that brings us back to the core issue here, which is this legal battle between Lively and Baldoni.
Yeah.
This is serious stuff, it's not just some Hollywood gossip.
Right, it's an actual accusation with real legal consequences.
Right, and the article says that Baldoni is denying everything. He says Lively's lawsuit is completely baseless.
Yeah, he even says he's got proof, like actual evidence.
Right, he calls it receipts.
Receipts.
Yeah, he says he's got correspondence correspondence between him and Lively and the intimacy coordinator from the set.
Wow.
This could really shed some light on what actually happened during those intimate scenes, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So we're talking about emails, texts, maybe even production notes.
Could be all of that.
That's pretty serious stuff. What do you think the implications of those receipts could be? I mean, especially to become public.
Well, it all depends on what's actually in them, you know?
Right.
They could either back up Lively's claims or contradict them.
Oh, yeah.
They could show that she's not being consistent, or they could support Baldoni's side of things. And if they do go public, well, it could totally change public opinion and even affect the outcome of the lawsuit.
It's wild that this whole thing is playing out in real time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we're watching a legal drama unfold right in front of us.
Right. And of course, the timing couldn't be worse for Another Simple Favor.
Talk about awkward. I mean, how do you promote a fun comedy thriller when one of your stars is in the middle of a serious legal battle?
Yeah, that's the big question. Do they address it head on or try to ignore it completely?
It's a tough spot.
It's a classic PR nightmare. You know, addressing it could just draw even more attention to the controversy.
Right.
But ignoring it completely could seem like they don't care.
Yeah, true. They'll probably try to find some middle ground, you know?
Probably acknowledge it without letting it overshadow the movie itself.
It's like walking a tightrope. I mean, speaking of walking a tightrope, how do you think Kendrick is handling all this pressure? Especially with the premiere coming up.
I can't even imagine. It must be so stressful for her. She's
Yeah.
caught in the middle of all this, and even though she's close with Lively being associated with her right now, it could hurt her own career.
Right.
It's going to be really interesting to see how she navigates this whole thing, both with her friendship with Lively and with her job promoting the movie.
It's a lot to deal with, for sure. And it makes you think about these celebrity friendships, you know,
Yeah.
like how they can be affected by things like lawsuits and all this public attention. It's like a reminder that these are real people with real lives and real feelings.
Absolutely. Even if those lives are playing out in front of the whole world.
Right. It's easy to forget that sometimes. So as we dig deeper into this whole story, what are some key things we should be looking out for? Like, what clues could help us understand what's really going on between Lively and Kendrick and how this legal battle might end up?
Well, I think we should pay close attention to their body language when they're out in public together.
Okay.
Are they acting like genuine friends, or do they seem distant or uncomfortable? Are they making eye contact? Are they really smiling, or are they just forcing it?
Right.
Those little things can tell you a lot more than words sometimes.
It's like we all need to become body language experts.
Haha, yeah. And what about what they actually say?
Mm-hmm.
If someone asks them about the feud directly, how do they respond? Do they completely deny it, or do they say something a little more vague?
Interesting.
Do they talk about supporting each other, or do they avoid mentioning each other at all?
Right.
Sometimes even a simple comment can reveal a lot about what's really going on.
It's all about reading between the lines. So what about the legal battle itself? What could happen there, and how would it affect Lively and Kendrick in the film?
Well, one possibility is that they settle out of court.
Okay.
That would probably involve some kind of financial agreement and a statement saying that neither of them did anything wrong.
So they could just move on without all the stress of a trial?
Exactly. That would be the best case scenario, I think.
Yeah, but what if they don't settle? What happens then?
Then it goes to trial, and all the evidence comes out, including those receipts that Baldoni mentioned.
Wow.
It would get a lot more public and probably a lot messier.
Right.
Both sides would be trying to win over public opinion.
And that could have huge consequences for everyone involved.
Definitely, Lively's reputation and career could be at risk.
Right.
Kendrick might get even more scrutiny and pressure because she's Lively's co-star.
Yeah.
And the film itself could just get completely overshadowed by all the legal drama.
Totally. It could bomb at the box office and get terrible reviews.
It's a really risky situation with a lot of potential downsides.
We're watching a train wreck in slow motion.
Right. And we just have to wait and see what happens next.
It just makes you think about, like, all the people affected by this whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
We've talked about the film and the actors, but what about the fans?
Oh, that's a really good point. Fans are so invested in these celebrities
Right.
that when something like this happens, it can be really unsettling.
Totally.
Some fans might feel like betrayed or disappointed, you know,
Yeah.
while others might be like super defensive of their favorite star.
Right, right.
It's like a case study in how fans connect with these celebrities and how complex that whole world is.
Yeah, for sure. It's like they're on this emotional roller coaster,
Right.
going back and forth between supporting them and feeling confused and maybe even angry.
Yeah. And then you add social media to the mix.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started.
It's like a whole other level of crazy.
Right, it's like the main stage for all this drama to play out.
Right? Everyone's sharing their opinions and arguing, and it can get out of control so fast.
Totally, and a lot of times it's just spreading misinformation and negativity.
Yeah, it's like this double-edged sword. On one hand, it lets fans connect with each other, but on the other hand, it can turn toxic really quickly.
And it seems like Kendrick is getting a lot of that negativity, even though she's not even involved in the lawsuit.
It's sad, really. Like, sometimes you can try to stay out of the spotlight,
Right.
but it still finds you, especially if you're close to someone who's in the middle of a controversy.
Yeah, it's like a harsh reminder that fame has a price.
Definitely. And that everything is connected now with the internet and social media.
It all comes back to thinking critically, right?
Absolutely.
With all this information flying around, we need to be careful about what we believe.
Right. We need to look at the sources and consider different perspectives.
Exactly, and not jump to conclusions based on like incomplete information or biased opinions.
It's so easy to get caught up in all the noise and drama. But we all need to be more responsible about the information we consume.
Especially with these kinds of sensitive situations. So as we wrap up our deep dive into all this Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick stuff,
Right.
what's the one big thing you want our listeners to take away from this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the world of celebrities is really complicated. What we see on the surface isn't always the whole truth. It's like a carefully constructed image,
Right?
And while it's fun to get a glimpse behind the scenes,
Yeah.
we have to remember that we're only seeing a tiny piece of the puzzle.
That's such a good point. So next time you're scrolling through headlines and social media and you see something about your favorite celebrity, just remember to think critically about it.
Right.
Question everything. Look at the sources and form your own opinion.
Exactly.
And maybe try to be a little understanding and empathetic.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, celebrities are just people too.
Right.
They're trying to figure things out just like the rest of us. And sometimes things get messy and unpredictable.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not always a simple favor.